Hey guys, this is Andy with Get Your Wellies. Join me in the garden today as we take a look at the aftermath of the frost, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips on curing sweet potatoes. So join me in the garden, but first of all, as always, why don't you get your wellies? Meet me in the garden. So the first thing about the frost, I went ahead and took all the vines off the evening before Halloween, and then on Halloween evening before it got dark, I went ahead and pulled the potatoes out. We'd had about 2 days then with no rain, but the soil, which typically this is right now just a little moist, but you can see it is pretty easy to work with, and pulling potatoes out of that was no problem at all when it's dry. But it was so wet, it was just muddy, and so the potatoes needed cleaning off, and you really don't want to have to clean them. You really want to just like brush the loose dirt off and then cure them. So they weren't in the best condition. Got an okay harvest, but not great. I'm going to show you how I'm curing those, because that's a good tip I think for you here in just a little bit. Let's have a look at what else we got, because I've been out here working today. And one other thing about the sweet potatoes, if the frost comes and it destroys the vines and you've not had a chance to pick them yet, my opinion is it's probably best to go ahead and cut the vines at the base, wherever that may be. After they've died, just go ahead and cut them, because that vine that's been destroyed by the frost is now going to be decomposing, and I don't know that necessarily that it would be harmful, but I would prefer not to have something decomposing still attached to the potatoes that are underground. So that's a choice that I like to make. I also don't have, like, you know, tons of square footage of sweet potatoes, so that's kind of up to you. But I just kind of have an aversion to dead vines being on my sweet potatoes, so just thought I'd mention that. So I filled up a couple of bags with just vines and things that have just been killed off by the frost, and I've still got some left to do over here. All of that stuff's dead. Tomatoes are dead under the canopy. Garden's still kind of trashy here, so I'm just working in from the gate to try and get everything and get it cleaned up. So the okra was in this bed. It all froze and just was dead, so I cut it back. And the stalks were so big, I had to cut those a couple of times. I was actually able to get them with loppers, but it was a little bit of work. Got the peppers out. That was the last of them. This hose is a soaker hose. It actually had it sprung a leak somewhere. It was pretty old, so this one's going to be trashed now. The one on the other side, it's still good, so I'll roll it up and save it for next year. Went ahead and got my beans out. Soil's still pretty good in here, so I'll rejuvenate that a little bit, cover it up for the winter, put some mulch on top, and then we'll do beans again in the spring. Now this is the moonflowers. I had already showed you where I picked some of the pods off to let them dry. These are a little mushy because they've been out here when it frosted. So let me pop this open and just see. Find a spot here. Got stuff everywhere at the moment. But yeah, see, these seeds are a little mushed up. There's a, yeah. So now this is one from the other day that was dry. It was not hanging on the vine. This one might be. Yeah, this one's This one's got some seeds, just 2 in there. This one, these have gotten to sit in the sun a bit longer. 2 in there, so, oh no, 3. Okay, so out of 2 pods we get 5 seeds. I've put a whole bunch of these pods in the garage because I want to be able to plant some moonflowers next year that I grew myself. And the same thing with the anasazi beans, where those were. I got some beans that I can grow that'll be from my own saving next year, so that's always fun when the seeds you're using are the ones you saved from the previous year. And you know, here's the rather sad remains of the tomatoes. I did take those off and put them in a bowl, so hopefully we'll get some of those that'll change color and still be decent to eat. But all this has got to come out. Another chore for tomorrow. So during this time of year, we're generally not using our seed trays or heat mats like this one for growing seeds. So I put a couple of these potatoes up here to show you, but if you put those in there and then cover that up with your humidity cover, and I have just a small bowl in here for water. Put this right in. There we go. A small bowl in there, and that will bring the humidity up. Like in this one, you can go ahead and set the temperature at about 95 degrees, and that'll be a good temperature for curing them. So it's a good use of something out of season, and they'll stay pretty warm in there. So this was not a huge haul, especially after I had to thin them out because of damage, but anyway, it is what it is. So but if you've got seed trays laying around and heat mats, this is a good way to do this, especially if you don't have just tons of sweet potatoes. Well guys, thanks for joining me. We had a look at a few things that needed to be done and taken care of. Now the cleanup really kind of starts, and we'll get into some of the things we're going to be building while it's cool, ready for when it warms up next year. And I'm going to look at building some pathways out there in the garden, so it'll be easier to get around when the rain comes and it gets a little harder to navigate the garden when it's full of puddles and all of that. So I think the next thing we'll probably see coming up will be here in this bed. We may see some elephant garlic poke up soon, but for now that's it. We'll get some more junk out of here tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. So until then, as always, bye now.